Okay, today we're going to make some of my peanut butter fudge. This is about the easiest kind of peanut butter fudge I've ever found, and it comes out great, really creamy and just delicious. First thing you do is take a 9 by 9 pan, okay, like this here, a baking pan, cake pan, whatever you want to call it, and I'm going to butter it. Okay, you have to butter it. If you don't butter it, it sticks to it and makes it hard to get out. So just take some butter. I'm using margarine. It doesn't matter. You can use spray coatings if you want to. I just prefer butter. I've done it all my life with butter, so I'm going to continue with butter. But you butter your pan. Make sure you get the sides and the bottom real good. Okay. It doesn't really take a whole lot of butter. I just dip my fingertips in the butter and I spread it on the pan so that it covers it and coats it inside real good. Okay, we're going to start with a 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk. It doesn't matter what brand it is. It's all about the same. But you want to get whatever amount is in the can. Now I usually buy one of these small 14-ounce cans. It isn't a lot of candy, it really isn't, but it will make that 9-inch by 9-inch cake pan full of fudge. If you want to double it, everything is just simply doubled. If you use 2 cans, that's 28 ounces, then you use 28 ounces of the chips. Today, I'm going to be making peanut butter fudge. You can do this with semi-sweet chocolate morsels. You can do this with peanut butter morsels like I'm doing here. You can do it with milk chocolate morsels. I actually prefer the milk chocolate fudge or the peanut butter fudge myself to the dark chocolate, but that's a matter of preference. One of my other fudges that I like to make, and I named it myself because I don't know anybody else who makes it, but I want to give you the secret of my recipe. It's my Kiss Fudge. It's made with Hershey Kisses. It's a pain to unwrap all those kisses, but once you've got it done, it makes some of the most delicious fudge that you've ever eaten. Milk chocolate Hershey Fudge. Now I'm going to turn this on at a pretty low temperature. You have to have some heat going through it. It takes it a minute. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this off the heat and I'm going to turn the flame up a little bit on an electric stove. On a gas stove, you don't have to do this, but it takes forever for the cap to heat up, so I'm going to heat it up a little bit first and then I'll turn it down. You don't want to burn or scorch your sweetened condensed milk. Now, in the meantime, while I'm waiting on that to heat up, you can go ahead and do this because it doesn't have to wait. I'm going to put in a bag. This bag has 10 ounces of Reese's peanut butter chips. Now, as far as I know, Reese's is the only ones who make peanut butter chips, so that's the ones you have to use. I'm not specifically recommending any brand, although I do like Reese's. It isn't really important what brand it is. And then I'm going to add another 4 ounces, which I have a little scale here in a cup that allows me to weigh it. So I'm going to go ahead and pour in another 4 ounces of chips. That way I have the same amount of chips in here as I do in the can, which is 14 ounces. Always make it equal to the amount of sweetened condensed milk you've got, and it will turn out perfect every time. This is very easy to do. It's the easiest fudge I've ever made in my life. All you have to do is just grease or butter the cake pan, put this on the stove and heat it up, and the same approach works. It doesn't matter whether you're using milk chocolate chips, Hershey Kisses, semi-sweet chocolate chips. You can make it from anything you want to make it from that is like chocolate. You can do butterscotch chips if you want. You can make butterscotch fudge. Whatever is your choice. And you just keep this at fairly low heat. Now you'll notice I turned it down before I started this on the heat. it's already starting to melt, as you see. So it takes a few minutes. You don't want to rush this step. You want to make sure everything is melted good. And you continually stir it while it's making so that it does not stick to the bottom of the pan and it does not scorch. If you scorch it, it will give it a terrible taste, trust me. But you don't have to do any water balling or anything of that nature to see if it's cooked well. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is just watch it, and when you start seeing the lumps all disappear and they're all melted and absorbed by the sweetened condensed milk, then you're done, and you pour it into your pan, which I will bring my pan over here while this is still cooking and get it ready. As you can see, I already have it buttered. I continuously stir what I've got in my pan because I don't want it to burn. And this is probably the most tedious part of this and the longest amount of time spent on anything is in heating this up until everything melts. And it takes about, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes, something like that. And like I say, on a gas stove, it might take a little less time simply because you've got constant regulated heat on a gas stove. With an electric stove, they have a tendency to not give you the same equal temperature all the way around the cap. That's another reason why you stir it constantly, because if there's any temperature variation around it, you want to make sure that you've got it covered. And you can see most of my little chunks of the chips, all that has started to basically soften up and disappear. It hasn't completely gone yet, but it's close. And you can feel it starting to stiffen up while you're cooking it. Now I use a spatula. Okay, you can use a spoon. It doesn't matter. I like to use the spatula because it gives me a little better control, especially when I go to pull it out and put it in the pan. And I would say that is pretty close to about as melted as it's going to get. It might be a little bit more in there. I'll give it a few more minutes. I still see a few little lumps. And this makes about the finest fudge I've ever eaten. And it's about done now, so I'm going to take it over here. And just flop it out into the pan. Scrape as much of it out of my saucepan as I can, because I don't want to lose any or waste any. And sometimes you have to go down and dig a little bit. You can see how that stuck a little bit to the bottom. It's not terrible. It didn't scorch. That's good. Okay. And it's already starting to stiffen up. So I will get rid of that now. Take this, and you find yourself probably better off patting it into position rather than trying to stir it into position. If you just put it down in the pan and pat it down, okay, that's about all you have to do. There's a little piece or two left here on this. I just go ahead and eat that. Thank you. It's ready to eat immediately. I drop it a few times like that to make sure that it's got most of the air bubbles out. From here, it goes to the refrigerator for a few minutes. 30 minutes usually is sufficient for it to cool enough that you can cut it and eat it. You can let it go longer than that, it doesn't matter, but I'd say give it at least 30 minutes. If you can feel the bottom of the pan here, And you can see I'm holding it flat in my hand. It's warm, but it is not terribly hot. So you just want to cool it off a little bit. Okay, it's been about half an hour or so now, and I'm cutting it and getting ready to take it out of the pan. You'll notice when you start cutting into it, it's going to be pretty firm. Okay, and you can see that it cuts reasonably smoothly. And if you've buttered your pan well, it should come out of your pan fairly easy. And this is what you come up with after you cut it. You can see it's a pretty decent thickness. And you can cut it into as small a piece as you want to, or leave it as large as you want to. It's very sweet and creamy. I'm going to cut that one in half because I'm going to take a bite of it now that it's done. And you can tell how soft and creamy it is just by looking at it. It's almost like peanut butter itself, but it's firmer. And it actually chews. You can see the remnants. Very good fudge. You got to give it a try. And there is a plate of my peanut butter fudge. Enjoy, everyone.